Hello, this is Eric from labofcoding.com. In this video, we look at Lambda functions. Lambda functions, these are anonymous or unnamed function. Say, for example, you have the function def get sum, which just returns the sum of two inputs A and B. So this is the normal way that you write functions in Python, but you can also have anonymous or an unnamed function using the lambda keyword. So we can convert this one to a lambda function, which we will assign to a variable. So let's say we will call the variable total, which will be pointing to that lambda function. And then so the keyword is lambda, and then followed by the inputs if there are any inputs to that function. In this case, you have the inputs A and B, and then we want to return the sum of A plus B. In this case, we don't have the brackets and we also don't have the return keyword, but the options coming after the lambda keywords are the inputs, and after the full colon, the evaluation is what will be returned to the user. So we can print. So you can print total, and we will call it the normal way that we call other functions, and let's pass 4 and 5 to the function, and then we can run our function with python 3 main.py and find that it's evaluated. You can even have default values. Let's say the default of this one will be 5. So in that case, we don't have to pass the second argument to the function. We can just pass the first argument and the default of 5 will be used. So if we run that, we find that we still get 9. Lambda functions usually become very useful in some situations, and they are used with some built-in function like the map function, the filter function, and the reduce function. Say, for example, if we wanted to, we have a list of values. So you have 4, 5, 7, and 9. And you want to get the squares of each of these. We could say squares is equal to I times I for I in values using a list comprehension. That is possible, but we can also use map. So we can still get the same answer squared. So we have the map built-in function, which takes a function as the first argument and an iterable as the second argument. So in this case, in the lambda, the function that it takes will be applied to each element in that list which will be passed. So let's say we want to get the square of each item, so we can use a lambda function here. So we can say lambda x, and then in this case we'll return x times x, and then we pass the iterable values which you want to square. So we can save that, and then we can print the two values, squares, squared, squares from the list comprehension, and squared from the using the map function with a lambda function in it. So in this case, lambda x will be each element in the list in the iterable that we have passed, and for each element we will multiply it by itself, we'll get its square. So we can convert whatever is returned by the map function is not a list, so we can quickly convert this one to a list and save that one. And if we run our function, you can see that we get the same output. And then the lambda function is also useful when working with another built-in function known as filter. So we can say we want to get the even numbers only in our list. In this case, we have only 4. We can add another even number like 12. So we could do that using a list comprehension like I for I in values. If I modulus 2 is equal to 0, that one will give us the even number. But we could use the built-in filter function to do that for us, and we will do that using a lambda function. So we could say even nums, and we will use the filter function, and it takes a function as the first element, as the first argument. So in this case, we'll pass a lambda function. We'll say lambda x, and then what we will do, we will check, we'll use the modulus operator to get the even. So that one, and then we will pass the iterable. In this case, it's values. So this is lambda. So in this case, the filter function usually is used to filter values from an iterable, and the function will be applied to each item in the iterable passed, and if it returns true, that element will be added to the output, to the filtered values. Otherwise, if it returns false, it will be dropped. So in this case, if we will check if x is modulus 2 is 0, that number is even, it will be added to the filtered list. Otherwise, it will be dropped. So we can also print this one even, and we can convert this one to a list, even nums, from the filter function. So we can save that one, and if we run our code, I find that we are still getting the same output as expected. So that is how you can use lambda functions in Python. It's usually not very advisable to have a lambda function that has very complex logic. So they're useful in situations like this, when you want to pass it to have a function which is passed to another function to give a quick computation, like in the case of the filter and map function. So that's it for this video. We'll pick it from here. Thanks for watching.